The year is 1906. A teenage boy stands alone on a railway platform in rural Ontario, Canada. He is frail. Asthma has gripped his chest since childhood. Pneumonia has already stolen 2 full years of his schooling. The family doctor has given his verdict plainly. This boy's heart is delicate. His lungs are worse. He must live carefully. A farmer's wife spoke within earshot of him, not knowing he could hear. Poor boy. He's not long for this world, is he? He should not be on this platform alone. But he has read newspaper reports of an evangelistic crusade in Toronto, and something in those words has pulled him like a current. He boards the train and rides toward the city. He arrives at Massey Hall. On January 28, 1906, at a boys' service on the final night of the R.A. Tory campaign, his life changes forever. He is turned to stone in his seat, unable to rise, unable to respond. His brother Arnie drives an elbow into his ribs. The spell breaks. He is on his feet, in the aisle, heading to the inquiry room in the basement. The personal worker assigned to him walks away before the transaction is complete. He is left entirely alone. In that aloneness, he bows his face into his hands. Tears gush through his fingers. And in that basement, alone before God, it is done. When he rises, one sentence comes out of him that he will never take back. I know as sure as I'm alive, I must preach the gospel. There is nothing else in the world for me. And preaching the gospel he would, powerfully, relentlessly, for the next 80 years, in over 80 countries across every continent on earth. He would complete 21 world tours and preach over 12,000 sermons. He would raise $14 million for world missions, send 600 missionaries to the nations, write over 1,200 hymns, and build a church that became the global model of what a missions-minded congregation could look like. This is the story of Oswald Jeffrey Smith, the boy the doctor buried before he finished growing, and the God who decided otherwise. It is the story of what it costs to let God be right about you. He asked for nations according to Psalm 2:8, and God gave him nations. Comment below with, I will ask for my nation, city, town, or village, writing the exact name of your location if you believe God can use you to bring the fire of the gospel to where you live. For example, I will ask for Canada if you are in Canada. Stay to the end, where we reveal the hidden disciplines that kept Oswald's fire burning for 70 years, so you can run with endurance the race God has set before you. Oswald Jeffrey Smith is born on November 8, 1889, in a farmhouse on the outskirts of Odessa, Ontario, the eldest of 10 children. His father is a telegraph operator for the Canadian Pacific Railway, which means the family is always at a point of departure, never fully settled, moving from town to town across rural Ontario. The boy who will one day complete 21 world tours grows up in a world of transit, as if God is already practicing him for a life in motion. The body is fragile from the beginning. Asthma grips his chest on bad nights until breathing becomes a fight. Pneumonia steals 2 full years of schooling. He faints in class and is carried home. The doctor has delivered his verdict. The farmer's wife has already buried him aloud, and yet something is happening in that sickbed that no one around him can see. He lies there manufacturing sermons in his imagination, practicing a ministry he has not yet received the right to hold, whispering in the dark, Lord, I want to preach. I want to win souls. He is a child. He does not know what he is asking for, but the seed is planted before the soil is ready. When Oswald is about 13, a confirmed drunkard in the community disappears. When he returns, he is a new creature in Jesus Christ, going from farmhouse to farmhouse with a simple, unpolished fire. Something in young Oswald responds with an intensity he cannot explain. He is not yet saved, does not yet understand the gospel, but he trudges dusty country roads alone at night to sit spellbound in farmers' kitchens and listen to a converted drunkard preach. The most unlikely human instrument prepares the soil for what God is about to plant. God uses the consecrated and willing, whatever their origins. A farmer's daughter teaching his Sunday school class turns to her students and says, without planning it, "Any of you boys might be a minister." Oswald responds in the silence of his own heart, "I'll be that boy." From that moment, he never has another desire but to preach. The first public opportunity is as anticlimactic as possible. Reverend John D. Morrow, a Presbyterian minister, asking him to say a few words at a young people's meeting. Not a sermon, just a few words. The grand entrance he had imagined arrives as a casual request at a small gathering. This is the price of beginning, the willingness to take the smallest door when it is the only one open. Then comes the confirmation. 3 sermons in one day at age 18 with no prepared material. A Methodist minister at a railway station invites him to preach, then reveals there are 3 churches tomorrow. Oswald has no sermon. He kneels with his forehead on the floor. "Lord, you know I haven't a sermon to my name. You'll have to give me one." During the second service, a freight train thunders past and drowns him out completely. He raises his voice higher and keeps going. On December 8, 1910, he writes in his diary the covenant that will fix the trajectory of his entire life. "Oh God, use me, no matter what the cost." He paid with obscure origins and a body that was never strong, with the willingness to take the smallest door, and the covenant made alone on a floor. After his conversion, Oswald enters formal training: Toronto Bible College, McCormick Theological Seminary in Chicago. Student pastoral roles with early revivals stirring under his preaching. On April 29, 1915, he is ordained in the South Chicago Presbyterian Church. He spends the entire day in prayer, and from it, God gives him 2 specific convictions. His work will be worldwide, and Toronto will be his home base. On the same day, an invitation arrives to succeed A.B. Simpson at the Alliance Tabernacle in New York, one of the most prestigious pulpits in North America. He declines without hesitation. Toronto is burning in him. Obedience over ambition. The pattern is fixed from the beginning. All of that is in place, which makes what follows even more devastating. Oswald applies to the Presbyterian Mission Board. He has the call burning in his chest, the hunger, the training, the willingness. The answer: rejected. The doctor's verdict is specific. "Son, if we send you overseas, you won't last 6 months." The man who will live to 96 and visit 80 countries is given 6 months by the medical gatekeepers of the mission establishment. He tries again, then again, and the final letter arrives with language worth quoting exactly. "You have been flatly, definitely, and finally rejected." 3 adverbs of finality, stacked one on top of the other. The door does not just close, it is sealed with language designed to end the conversation permanently. In 1916, Oswald marries Daisy Billings. Daisy must be named here as a co-bearer of the price. She absorbs the relational, domestic, and emotional costs of a vision she did not originate, carries what he cannot carry every time he is away, and does it for 56 years without record of complaint. The story of Oswald Smith is incomplete without naming what Daisy Smith gave. Depression descends. The heavens feel like brass. He questions the call, questions himself, and attempts the field more than once. Each time he collapses and is sent home. His own words confirm the full weight of what he surrendered. "I tried to go myself. As a matter of fact, I went time and time again, but each time I had to come back." Then, one evening, studying by lamplight, he opens his Bible and reads Psalm 2:8. "Ask of me, and I shall give thee the heathen for thine inheritance." He stands up trembling. For the first time, he prays with global scope. "I will ask. I will ask for nations." He cannot go, but he can ask. And the God who gave him the asking gives him everything he asks for. He paid with the field he wanted, with the word flatly, definitely, and finally stamped on his application. The discipline that answered that cost was prayer expanded beyond every boundary the boards had set. Before we follow Oswald into the founding of the People's Church and count the full price he paid to turn that impossible asking into the most prolific missions operation in the history of the evangelical church, I want to acknowledge the people who make stories like this possible. The research behind a story like Oswald's takes weeks of digging through archives and long-forgotten records. Stories the world has largely forgotten, but that the church desperately needs to remember. Our cloud of witnesses members are the reason these witnesses are not buried in silence. If you would love to be part of the community that ensures these hidden legacies are told, and told well, hit the join button on the channel homepage or click the membership link in the description below. You will not just be supporting a channel, you will be standing in the same spirit as the witnesses themselves and encouraging many others to run with endurance the race God has set before them. Oswald builds a thriving work at Dale Presbyterian Church. Crowds of 1,000 in Toronto. Revival stirring. A final missionary offering of $34,000. And then he is maneuvered out of it. At the very peak. No split, no difficulties, no cause. His own words. The work that had become dearer than life itself. The child of my prayers and tears, born in the travail of my soul, was taken over by others. I had been maneuvered out when the work was at its very peak and all was well. I had lost all, or so it seemed, yet God had not forgotten me. The price of the call includes losing things you built for God, not just things you built for yourself. This is a different and harder lesson. In October 1920, Oswald rents the West End YMCA and starts his own service. 64 people show up. The auditorium holds 750. Every empty seat is a statement. The man who was drawing 1,000 in Toronto begins again with 64 people in a room built for 12 times that number. This is the price of the vision. To start again from nothing, after having had something, because God is not finished with you yet. At a pastor's conference, Oswald hears A.B. Simpson preach one line that lands like revelation. A church is not great by its seating capacity, but by its sending capacity. Afterward, Simpson grips his hand. You are called to stir the church of God. Do not shrink from it. That night Oswald cannot sleep. Near dawn, a concept arrives that will change world missions strategy. Faith promise giving. Not a pledge, not a cash offering, but a covenant to give an amount God has not yet provided, trusting Him to send it before the giving date arrives. He lives it himself first. On $25 a week with nothing in the bank, God asks him to promise $50 to the missions offering. 2 weeks' salary. Every month he agonizes in prayer. Every month God sends it in. The man who introduces faith, promised to thousands of churches, first lives it on $25 a week with nothing to fall back on. What this model produces in a congregation given over to it must be seen to be believed. During a prayer service at the People's Church, Oswald prays over the nations by name: China, India, Africa, the islands, the Middle East. Something falls over the room. People weep. Some fall to their knees. When the offering plate passes, people give not just money but possessions, jewelry, watches, coats. A house deed is placed near the altar. Oswald watches in stunned silence. He has not planned this. He has not asked for this. He says afterward, simply, "Heaven wasn't done." The giving culture of the People's Church was not a program. It was a visitation. On September 9, 1928, Oswald J. Smith founds the People's Church in Toronto. The first service held at Massey Hall, the same auditorium where he was saved 22 years earlier. Nearly 2,000 people are there. The circle is not accidental. The founding declaration, rugged consecration to sacrificial service. 1 year in, the People's Church Missionary Society is launched. In a single documented year, $63,000 is spent on local expenses, and $329,000 goes to world missions. Missions is not an addition to what Oswald is building. It is the reason he is building it. He paid with Dale Presbyterian. He paid with 64 people in an empty room. The fruit that answers that price is a sending culture that will outlast everyone who maneuvered him out. Everything Oswald J. Smith produced in public was the overflow of something he cultivated fiercely in private. How does a frail boy from rural Ontario build a ministry that shakes nations? A set of repeatable disciplines, practiced without exception before the city woke up. On November 8, 1927, his 38th birthday, Oswald spends the entire day in prayer, pacing his study, crying, "Lord, make me a man after thine own heart." Everything external fades. The books written, the sermons preached, the crowds gathered. He sees with sudden clarity that the big thing is not the work he is doing, but the life he is living. This is a second major consecration crisis, entirely distinct from December 8, 1910. The surrender of a man in the middle of established ministry, when success has arrived, but something deeper is still unpossessed. Consecration is not a single transaction. It is renewed. From that birthday prayer comes a systematic, limb-by-limb consecration of the instrument to the one who uses it. Lord, here are my hands. May they never touch anything that thou wouldst not have them touch. Here are my feet. May they never go where thou wouldst not be seen. May my eyes never look upon anything that would grieve thy Holy Spirit. May my mouth never speak a word I would not want thee to hear. May my mind never retain a thought that would dim the sense of thy presence. May my heart know no love and cherish no feeling that is not of thee. This is not devotional ornamentation. It is the blueprint of a consecrated life. His morning watch is the engine of everything visible. He clears the furniture from the center of the room and walks back and forth, talking to God out loud. He never kneels. He walks. 3 specific hindrances, 3 tested solutions, interruptions solved by a fixed time and fixed place, drowsiness solved by walking, wandering thoughts solved by praying aloud, because spoken words force the mind to stay present. His non-negotiable, I would not dream of going to my office before first spending time alone with God. I want to meet God before I meet man. He misses only one day of Bible reading across 50-plus years, when seriously ill in the air. Every other day, morning by morning, the Word comes first. Beyond his personal practice, he sets aside every government holiday as an all-day corporate prayer and fasting day. The congregation gathers from morning until evening, fasting, crying out for revival, for the nations by name. Not an hour. An entire day, every national holiday, year after year. Every number raised, every missionary sent, all of it runs on this fuel. Out of his prayer and out of his pain, Oswald writes over 1,200 hymns. God Understands comes from the telegram bearing news that his sister's husband was killed returning from missionary furlough in Peru. Then Jesus Came is written in a single afternoon in Philadelphia at Homer Roadheaver's request, and within days, George Beverly Shea is singing it on Billy Graham's Hour of Decision. Pain in the hands of a man who refuses to let it become bitterness becomes raw material. He also writes over 35 books in 128 languages, selling over 1 million copies. In The Man God Uses, he states the crowning principle: any man who is willing to pay the price may be used of God regardless of talents and gifts. He stayed broken on purpose. The moment he stopped being a cracked vessel, he would stop being a useful one. He paid with his mornings, turning pain upward instead of inward. He paid with a prayer life that never coasted. The fire earned again each day before the city woke. The People's Church becomes something the Christian world has never seen. The faith promise model spreads to hundreds of churches worldwide. When Oswald arrives at Park Street Church in Boston in 1939, their annual missions giving is $3,200. He returns every year for 6 years with a faith promise convention. By the end, Park Street is giving $300,000 a year to missions, a 92-fold increase. That is not a program. It is a theology of trust multiplied across a congregation, 21 world tours, Over 12,000 sermons in 80 countries, and the physical reality of his body must never be forgotten as these numbers accumulate. He collapses in the Baltic after preaching until he is worn out, carried from the platform, sent home. He rides horseback 30 miles a day into the interior of Africa with Dr. Thomas Lambie, eventually collapsing in the long grass, natives forming a circle around his body. He contracts severe malaria in the Solomon Islands in 1938 that does not leave him for 3 years. The missionaries send him home because they believe if he stays, there will be another white man's grave in the islands. I tried to go myself. As a matter of fact, I went time and time again, but each time I had to come back. Each collapse is not the end of the story. It is the price tag on the next chapter. In Buenos Aires in 1957, at 67 years old, he preaches to crowds averaging 15,000 nightly at the Luna Park Arena. 3 nights exceed 20,000. 300 churches participate. Over 1,500 decisions for Christ. The largest united evangelistic campaign in the history of South America. The man the boards gave 6 months to live has lasted long enough to shake a continent. In South Africa, over 7,000 are converted. In Australia, over 1,000 young people volunteer for foreign missionary service. In Tokyo, 1,000 decisions are made in a single campaign. In 1959, he is received at Buckingham Palace. These are not biographical footnotes, they are the answer to the doctor who said he would not last. For every dollar spent on local expenses, 7 go to foreign missions. 600 missionaries are sent to more than 40 countries. Annual missions giving eventually exceeds $700,000. And across his full ministry, the People's Church raises over $14 million for world evangelism. His own ordering of every identity makes the priority unmistakable. I am a pastor second, I am a missionary first. I am a hymn writer second, I am a missionary first. I am an author second, I am a missionary first. And from that conviction comes his most confronting declaration from the pulpit. Every Christian is a missionary or an impostor. No qualification, no softening. The argument behind it. At the feeding of the 5,000, the disciples do not give second helpings to the front rows before the back rows have received their first. Every person receives in turn. There are entire nations that have not heard the gospel once, while others have heard it 100 times. You cannot sit comfortably in the front rows after this argument has been made. But Oswald also carries a regret. Near the end of his life, he acknowledges that he wishes he had given his wife and children more of what he gave the nations. The greatest missionary statesman of his generation carries one regret into his final years and names it honestly. The cost was real in every direction. He paid with his body on 3 separate fields. He paid with family time redirected to the nations. The fruit is eternal. The cost was everything. In 1959, Oswald hands leadership of the People's Church to his son Paul, converted at age 5, walking the long aisle alone without prompting, kneeling at the front by himself. The man who built a sending culture raised a son inside it. The flame is past, already burning. Billy Graham says, "No other man has influenced so many people in so many diverse ways." Dr. Smith will go down in history as the greatest combination pastor, hymn writer, missionary statesman, and evangelist of our time. The word combination matters. One purpose, every instrument. Near the end of his ministry, a prominent pastor from Asia kneels beside his chair and says through tears, "Pastor Smith, your writings brought the fire of missions to my country. Entire churches were birthed because of your words." His feet never reached that country. His pages did. God did not waste the rejection. He multiplied it. He preaches his first sermon in Muskoka in 1908. 12,000 sermons later, he preaches his last at the People's Church in December 1981, aged 92. 73 years. The same fire. In 1980, at age 90, he appears on television, describes his morning prayer walk, then stands without being asked and prays aloud for the host on live television. On November 1st, 1972, Daisy goes to heaven after 56 years of marriage. Oswald outlives her by 14 years. At his funeral in 1986, Billy Graham preaches and George Beverly Shea sings. But the tribute that silences the room is Daisy's own words, written years before her death and read aloud over the sanctuary. "We asked for the world, and God answered. And now my Oswald has gone to see the fields he longed for with his own eyes." Flags of the nations drape the sanctuary. The nations that sent no invitation to the young Oswald Smith hang over his casket at the end. In his last season of active ministry, alone in the dark sanctuary, touching the world map, whispering the names of nations, he opens his Bible and Acts 13:36 rises from the page. David, after he had served his own generation by the will of God, fell on sleep. Serve your generation, then sleep. He sinks into the front pew and weeps. Not because the mission is finished, but because it was never his, it was God's, and God is already raising the next one. That is the compounding return on one man's total surrender. You stayed to the end. As promised, here is what kept Oswald's fire burning for over 70 years. First, the daily morning watch. A fixed time, a fixed place, the furniture cleared, the prayer spoken aloud, every morning before the city woke. Not when he felt like it, but without exception for over 50 years. 3 specific hindrances, 3 tested solutions, a fixed place for interruptions, walking for drowsiness, praying aloud for wandering thoughts. This discipline is available to you right now. You do not need a new season. You need a time, a floor, and your voice. Second, the faith promise. He began it on $25 a week with nothing in his pocket, promising God $50 he did not have, watching God send it in month after month until he could not deny it. The question is not whether you can afford it. The question is whether you will make the covenant and trust God to honor it. Third, the asking itself. Psalm 2:8, prayed with global scope, nations named before God morning after morning until heaven moved. I am not a great preacher, I am not a great thinker, I am only a great asker. Not extraordinary talent, extraordinary asking. Oswald Jeffrey Smith paid with his body, a frame that was never strong, offered anyway, sufficient for 21 world tours. He paid with the ministry he wanted, surrendered so God could give him the ministry the world needed. He paid with Dale Presbyterian, with 64 people in an empty room, with the words flatly, definitely, and finally stamped on his application. He paid with his mornings, with family time he never recovered, with the anointing he refused to coast on, with a prayer closet that was not negotiable, even when the nights were dark and the heavens felt like brass. He kept going, he kept asking, he kept sending. And when it was over, flags of nations draped the sanctuary. The rejected missionary had reached more of the world than any missionary who had ever been accepted. That price is still on the table. The asking is still available. The nations have still not all heard. The question is not whether you admire what Oswald J. Smith paid. The question is whether you are willing to pay it too. Comment "I will ask for my nation, city, town, or village" below. Write the exact name of your nation, city, town, or village. If you believe God can send the fire of the gospel there. Don't forget to hit that notification bell, like and subscribe to Cloud of Witnesses for more life-changing stories of faith that will equip you to boldly fulfill the call of God in your life. This week, spend 15 minutes every morning praying aloud, standing, moving if you need to. Name a nation, name a person, name your call. Bring it before God with the expectation of a man who intends to be answered. Now, what if the very evangelist whose crusade sent a frail teenage boy alone on a train toward Toronto is about to have his story told on this channel? What if behind R.A. Torrey's thunder was a prayer life that would redefine what you think intercession costs? Check out this next video and discover the impossible beginning, the hidden fire, and the transforming power of R.A. Torrey.